Today, I want to address the issue of attachment styles within romantic relationships. And this is the way I want to look at it. Let's talk about the anxious preoccupied and the dismissive avoidant, because it seems like they attract each other. The preoccupied anxious individual is constantly seeking for validation, assurance, connections, and bonding. And if you think about the dismissive avoidant, they are running away from that. The individual who is preoccupied and anxious, they are constantly afraid of losing the relationship. No matter how much they are told they are loved, it becomes very difficult for them to believe it. On the other hand, the dismissive avoidant is that person who is emotionally independent. They stay away from vulnerability. So when the two of them meet and they fall in love, what happens is that relationship becomes quite tentative. The more they know each other, the more the preoccupied anxious wants to get deeper. And the more she tries or he tries to get deeper with the avoidant is trying to walk away. So both of them, they want to bond, but the intensity of that bond is where they are not meeting. So what they would need to do is to be aware, first of all, of how the other person is different from them. Be aware and appreciate each other's needs, so that the preoccupied anxious is aware that the dismissive avoidant, they need some space. They need to be allowed to be independent. The avoidant dismissive, they need to understand that the preoccupied anxious individual that they are in love with needs time, they need assurance, they need validation, and they need to know that they are loved and that they are important to them. So the communication between these two would have to be top-notch, so that now you are empathetic about your significant other. Now, a scenario that would really work well for them is this space where the dismissive avoidant, because they are aware that their spouse needs their attention a lot and they need a lot of time to talk and to connect, that he would or she would be able to stop and say and acknowledge and say to their spouse, I do understand it's very important for you, for us to have a date night and to talk deeply about our relationship. And I want to meet you at that point. However, I also want you to understand that for me, that causes me some sort of anxiety and I'm working on it. So I would like for us to agree what is the meeting point. And then the preoccupied or anxious individual, you can also validate the emotional needs of your avoidant, a significant other, and say, I understand that my need to connect causes you anxiety, and I want to meet you somewhere in the middle. I wish we could sit down and talk about how we can be able to mutually meet each other's needs. If that kind of a conversation would happen, then you can create a culture that meets the needs of both of you. You don't suppress each other, neither do you neglect the needs of each other. And you can have these conversations, and those conversations can create a synergy for both of you to experience the kind of relationship that is healthy and that is mutually fulfilling. The other thing that you want to do is each one of you needs to do your own personal work, so that now you, as the preoccupied anxious, increase your sense of self-worth, increase your sense of I'm enough, I am not going to be left. Increase your sense of security within yourself, self-confidence. Allow yourself to go through a personal process of self-compassion, of healing childhood wounds, so that now you can appear in this relationship in the current time, not carrying all the baggage that you have had throughout your life where you have experienced rejection and abandonment. And allow yourself to grow, allow yourself to heal, so that now in this current relationship, you are dealing with the current issues. So healing those old wounds can allow you the opportunity to create a more mutual relationship. Now, for you as the avoidant, dismissive individual, you would need to deal with your issue of personal pride, because we know that individuals on that spectrum, they tend to be very emotionally independent. They don't need people, and they feel a lot of personal pride, and it can border on arrogance, that I don't need anyone. And then there is also the issue of you don't trust people that well. You trust yourself, but you don't trust anybody else. And so work on looking at the individual who is in front of you and ask yourself whether you can risk trusting them, because obviously if you are married to them or you are in love with them, that means that they are a person that causes you to feel good. So go further and work on the trust, on trusting them. There is also a need to connect, because if you can't connect with a person in a deeper way, that means you don't trust yourself. You feel like you will connect and then you will be hurt. You don't think that you can be able to handle anything that is going to be negative within the relationship. As human beings, we are always running away from pain. We don't like pain, and emotional pain is one of the pains that we don't really want. So we hold back so that we can protect ourselves from pain. So if we are going to experience real connections in our relationships, we are going to learn that we have to be vulnerable. And if there is fear, then we can deal with the fear. The connection that usually happens between preoccupied and anxious and the dismissive avoidant, they are on the two opposites. The worldview of the dismissive avoidant is that I am the only person that I can trust. So they love themselves, they are good about themselves, and they believe that they don't need anybody else, and they don't trust people from outside. The preoccupied and anxious, they don't love themselves. They don't believe that they are good people. They don't believe that they have what it takes to keep a relationship, and that's why they are so anxious, and that's why they need the validation of the person that they are with all the time. So be able to identify if that is what is in your relationship, and then do those things that I said in the beginning, where you begin to find the bridging. Reach out to me. My number is on the screen. You can go to my website. You will find information on how to book an appointment with me. I will be so glad to walk with you as you seek to live your life by design and to experience the kind of life that makes you feel content and fulfilled.